Are you tired of living in a dirt box and looking for a super cool design for your next Minecraft house? Then you've come to the right place, because in this video I'll be showing you over 10 different house ideas. If you want to build any of these houses for yourself, then check out the description because I have a tutorial video for each of them. Taking a look at the first idea, we have this super awesome rustic mansion. It has a lot of fun details, but what I especially love about it is the block palette with these cobblestones and andesite for the foundation, white terracotta for the second floor, and then for the roof I used a deep slate trim with dark oak in the middle, which I think works super well. All these colors really complement each other. I really love this window design. It has a lot of cool detail and depth to it, as well as this entryway with this really nice arch design, again with a lot of depth, with this kind of secondary roof piece sort of sticking out covering the entrance. And then one of the things that is super nice about this house is it has this really cozy garden at the back. So you sort of have this back entryway leading into the garden, and then you could plant whatever you want back here. And this build does have a fully decorated interior, so let's check that out. Just head inside here, closing the door behind us. Got a nice little fireplace, small table, some storage tucked away in this little corner. And then I really love this dining table design. I used pistons, and here's a nice little kitchen with, I really like this floor design using calcite and polished blackstone. And then just heading upstairs, let's check out what's up here. Nice little carpet design, and then I have a few bedrooms in here just filled with beds. So you could kind of use this build as like a tavern, or just have a bunch of beds for if you're playing on a multiplayer server. But this is the master bedroom with this huge bed here, and just a few other details, little bookshelf, some storage, and the ceiling design in here is super awesome. It has a lot of depth to it. So I really love this house, guys, but let's check out the next one. The next idea is for this farmhouse. What I really love about this one is that it has this stables attached to the side of it, so you could put whatever animal you want in here, whether it be some horses or some cows for some food. One of the things that I added to the windows was these lecterns kind of facing the inside of the house with some trapdoors on top. It kind of creates this cool little guardrail design. It also has this super simple but nice looking sloped roof, and I used blackstone in the center with a dark oak trim. Let's take a quick look inside, as this house does have a fully finished interior. We have a little bit of a kitchen, a small table, and then heading upstairs is where our bedroom is. So we have a small little bed design here, some storage, crafting table. It's a pretty simple interior, but I think it works well as just like a simple starter survival base. The next idea is for a medieval house. I really love this one, especially the block palette. I'm using stone bricks and andesite for kind of the foundation, sandstone for the walls, and then deep slate bricks for the roof. Taking a look at a few of the details, we have some nice little flower boxes to add a pop of color. This super sweet balcony design, which just adds a nice layer of depth, as well as just having a cool spot to hang out in your Minecraft world. And then taking a look at the side of the house, we have this sort of covered area where you could put some chests or some storage, or maybe some firewood, something like that. Let's take a quick look at the interior. I actually like the interior of this house quite a bit. I think it came out well. But we have a little kitchen on this side, dining table. Over here we have some bookshelves, a little office station. On this side, a little brewing station, some more storage. And then if we head upstairs, in this room here, we have our enchanting area. So a bit of an enchanting room, some more storage for, some books, lapis, stuff like that. And then if we come over down this hallway, this is where the main bedroom is. So we got our bed design here. Over here, I added a little bit of a closet so you can, store your armor for the next day. And then another little table. And then this is how you get out to the balcony. So you can see you can just hang out here. Check out your Minecraft world, super peaceful and relaxing here. The next build is for this simple and small farmhouse. The thing that I probably love most about this build is this tower design on the side. I think it adds a nice layer of interest as well as just depth and detail to the build. And then I also really like this chimney design. It's pretty detailed with all these walls and stairs, just adds a lot of depth and kind of character to the house. And then for a pop of color, I also just added some leaves and flowers at the front. And the back is pretty much just the same. So let's take a look at the interior. Right when you walk in, you have some storage, little smelting area, crafting station, and then over here is where our bedroom is, some more storage, and then here is our fireplace, which I think looks pretty nice. And then I'll show you also that we can actually go into the tower, so you can come here, look out at the amazing view, which is pretty much just straight into this cliff face, but you get the idea. The next build is for this medieval mansion. I think this is one of the biggest houses from this video, but let's take a look at the details. So I'm using spruce and oak all throughout for all these pillars and just to add structure to the house. And then for the bottom, I'm using stone bricks, stone, cracked stone bricks. For the second floor, I'm using white terracotta, which I think is always a nice block to use for medieval houses. And then for the roof, I'm using a combination of the deep slate tiles as well as the deep slate bricks, which I think work well together, just adds a bit of texture variation using both of those. For some of the other details, we have these nice little window designs using a slab, and then above I'm using a campfire with the trapdoor underneath, just to kind of give like a cover for the window, if that makes sense. But we have this super huge chimney design, which I think works well for the scale of this build. And then on the sides of kind of the main house, I added these jut outs on the side, just to add some depth as well as to make the inside of the house even bigger. Let's take a look inside at the interior. So when you first open the door, you're greeted with this staircase design, and then I have these bookshelves underneath, and to make it look like a few of the bookshelves are actually empty, I'm using sideways looms. I really love using this building technique, I think it's pretty fun. Taking a look at the kitchen here, to make it look like smoke is coming up out of the smoker, I simply just put a campfire underneath. Pretty simple building technique, but I think it adds a nice layer of detail since it adds some animation to the house, just makes it look a little bit more lively. And then on this side we have this nice little fireplace design, and over here is where our storage is. A bunch of chests here, so you could use this as like a, survival storage room, ender chest here, crafting, all that stuff. And then let's go take a quick look upstairs. In this room right here we have our enchanting area, so enchanting table here, some more storage, bunch of anvils so you can kind of combine things, stuff like that. Right here is our bedroom, so small little table, painting, nice little bed design with a bunch of flowers here, add some color. And then I'll quickly show you, this is just to get into like the attic, so this house could be quite a bit bigger. I didn't design anything up here, but you can put a bunch more chests if you need more storage or something like that. After looking at that large medieval mansion, I thought it would be better to bring it back to a smaller build. So for this one I went for a fantasy theme. And to get that look, I'm using crimson for the roof, as well as a bunch of white blocks for the walls. So I'm using like a combination of smooth quartz, white concrete powder, calcite, and also for this tower here, I'm using some diorite. And I think these blocks all work super well together and just make it look a little bit more interesting than if you're to use all one block for the walls. But the rest of this house is pretty simple. We have this tower here, which I think helps with the fantasy look, and then just on the walls we have a few windows. Nothing too crazy, but I do like this doorway design with these kind of gates at the top and then kind of this double door. I think it works well, and to cover that gap I'm just using some trapdoors up here. But taking a look inside, we have a small kitchen. Again, I'm using that trick of using a campfire under the furnace here just to make it look like some smoke is coming out. A little bed here so we can sleep, and then a bunch of storage on this wall. So this could be like, a starter survival base. So this next build is for this stone mansion. This one is kind of simple in the construction, but it also does have some nice details. So one of the things that I like is this entryway. Kind of use some spruce here to add some depth as well as some color. And then inside, like the last build, I'm using a combination of white blocks, so smooth quartz and white concrete powder. And then for the walls, instead of just having them like completely stone, completely cobblestone, something like that, again, I'm using a combination of a bunch of blocks. So one of the things that I'm using is dead brain coral, which is kind of hard to get in survival, but if you do, it's an insane block to use. It works super well with all these other blocks, like the cobblestone and the andesite stone, all that good stuff. But this build does have a few nice little details, like this super intricate window design, which I like a lot. And then for the roof, again, I'm using a bunch of different blocks just to add some texture variation, make the build look a little bit more interesting. And then a trick that I'm using is, this may look like vertical slabs to you, but it really is just some trapdoors facing each other flipped up just like that. And it's a nice little trick to use for your builds. So as you can see, the rest of the house is pretty simple. To add some interest and some color, I did add this vine kind of creeping up the wall, which I think does look nice. I added another one of those window designs to the side, and sadly I did not build an interior for this one, as you can see. But it is super big in here, so you could add a nice large interior, use this as a survival base, really whatever you want. But with that, let's take a look at the next house. Alright, so for these next couple house designs, I wanted to show you that you can actually use village houses as a start for your own base. So you can just kind of add on to it, transform it, make it your own. I feel like that's kind of a fun idea if you're not really sure what to build. You can just kind of use one of the village houses as a start, one of these things, and then just kind of expand onto it, add your own details, to make it look more interesting and more personalized to your likings. So for this one, I just added a chimney to the side, added this nice little cover above the window, just added a few details around, some flowers, leaves, just to add some color, things like that. But as you can see, I also transformed this one. To make this one look more interesting, I added a tower to the side, and then for the walls, I'm using white terracotta in combination with calcite, which I think works really well. Just added some leaves around, another chimney, some flowers and stuff at the back. But as you can see, I've been working on transforming this whole village, so if you're not really sure what to build for your house, why not just move into a village, kind of claim one of the houses as your own, transform it, and make it your next house. Taking a look at this next build, I went for a super detailed and colorful medieval design. So I added all these details to the sides, I'm using signs, buttons, gates, trapdoors, all these things just to add a lot of detail and depth to the house. Like as you can see here again, I'm using composters to add a nice pop of color, and then that wasn't enough, I had to add buttons to the side, all this stuff, trapdoors, stairs, all these crazy details just to make the build look super interesting. And then I also love the colors on this house. I used light blue terracotta for the walls. For the roof, I'm using yellow wool as well as yellow concrete. And these colors, the yellow and the blue, contrast each other, so it makes the build look super interesting and fun to look at. And I also love this vine kind of creeping down the roof onto the wall here, works super well. And then taking a look at the side, you can see, again, I'm using that trick of using two trapdoors facing each other to look like vertical slabs. And as you can see, this just adds so much depth to the walls here. And then at the back, just some more windows. And sadly, this build doesn't have a fully decorated interior, but as you can see, there is a lot of space in here just due to that large roof. So a lot of space in here for whatever you want to add. The last idea that I want to show you in this video is this small rustic house. Despite the small size, I really like the way that the roof came out. Just the slopes turned out really well, and this is honestly probably one of my favorite roof designs even to this day. But taking a look at some of the other things on this house, I added a small window on this side and just used some oak trapdoors to look like some shutters. And then for this chimney, I used some anvils, and then on top I placed walls with flower pots on top of those. It's a pretty simple design for a chimney, but I think it looks nice. I use this design all the time. Taking a look inside, the interior is pretty small, but it's also quite cozy. I have a fireplace right here. At the top, I just added some barrels for some storage. I really like this chair design. To accomplish it, I just used a stair, surrounded it with signs, and then on top, put a trapdoor. And then you can see I'm using a few of the same techniques that I used before, like pistons for a table, or some looms to look like some empty bookshelves. I hope some of these house ideas gave you inspiration for your own Minecraft worlds. And as always, a super special thank you to my supporters on Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and happy building.